This is Rudy Giuliani with America's Mayor Live. You may not recognize me in this. I call it a zoot suit. You know, it's like from Guys and Dolls and Marlon Brando. Or do you know John Tobacco on Newsmax? Everybody knows Johnny. It's like something he would wear. Actually, I took it from him one night when he was sleeping. I did. No, I really like this jacket. I've had it for quite some time, and it really isn't a zoot suit. So I don't know what it is. It's a sport jacket. And I don't know how I came up with this color and this color. This is the Ukrainian. I think Ukraine is the Ukrainian colors, and I'm in favor of the Ukrainian people. I just think they're run by crooks. Like, don't get insulted if you're Ukrainian. The same thing is true of us. We're nice people, Americans. You wouldn't know it by Joe Biden. Oh, I forgot. Remember Colin Posty? What was his name? Colin Costy? Costin? Yost Colin. Was that his name?
Well, Colin Yost.
He's one of the group on Saturday Night Live that hasn't been funny for 2 decades. It started when Obama became the president, and they got intimidated of saying anything that might be suggestively racist, like something funny, which is of course racist in itself. That you're not willing to make fun of accomplished people of all races. I mean, Obama can kind of be made fun of. He was the president of the freaking United States, you know?
Yeah.
If you're not going to make fun of a black president, well, then you're a racist, aren't you? Yes, yes. That's what they all are. And, you know, I don't know if I don't feel that I have adequately conveyed to you the process of projection, because if you understood it, these people are finished. And you can tell everything they're going to do by what they're charging you with. So I'm trying to figure out what are they going to do to Trump? What else are they going to do to him? And all my friends and I can't tell you all who they are, but maybe some I'll get on the show, right? Have been talking for the last 3 weeks. It's like constant chatter, and I almost try to avoid it because it scares me. You know, I don't get scared. It's not for me. It's for him. They keep saying, you know, everything has failed. Everything they try is failing. When I show you this new poll, they're going to go nuts. I mean, they have now engaged in some of the most serious crimes. I'm not talking about Biden's life of crime, 30 years, but the people trying to stop him from being president have probably engaged in some of the biggest crimes committed in the history of America. Probably the worst conspiracies in the Oval Office. I mean, let's take one. Hillary Clinton buying Russian collusion. She bought Russian collusion, paid for it. 1.1 million, but there could be somebody else who might have helped her. Do you think, I'm not suggesting he did, but is it possible, you know, this guy accused a New York Post reporter today of being an anti-Semite because she suggested that his organization is paying for the terrorists who have invaded our campuses, or have thrown out the legitimate students, have suspended all teaching, and have now made them, in essence, Palestinian territory or Hamas territory, whichever. See, I don't see a distinction between Palestine and Hamas, and I haven't since 1980s, when I was investigating Arafat, who was from Palestine, who was killing Americans left and right. I haven't gotten over it, you know? So he was brought up to kill Americans, and he killed many, and then he became Clinton's best friend. I haven't gotten over that either. And it's hard for me, as somebody who has had responsibility for the protection of other people, to actually think that we make a distinction for the purposes of protecting our people between Hamas and Palestinians, because they all hate us. Is there an exception among Palestinians that don't? Are there some good people among, some of the Romans who crucified Jesus regretted it and became Christians, right? I'm not saying that there aren't some good Palestinian people. I am saying that if you're running a country or you're running a city or you're running a state, and you've got to take care of the people in that city, country, or state, you can't bring people in who were taught at the age of 2 to kill them. That's insane. or evil or communist, like you want to overthrow the government. So this woman, and I'm not even going to mention her name yet, because it's not about her really, and maybe it's a little bit about me, because he once accused me of it and shut up for the rest of ever when he said I criticized George Soros, and I don't remember for what. I think for all of the corruption he was involved in Ukraine, which is mind-boggling. Or the way he corrupted Eastern Europe by putting in phony special prosecutors who were just the opposite of special prosecutors. The one that I knew about, the first thing that he did is dismiss the case against Soros' company. So I don't know if you get it. You see, they say special prosecutor. That sounds like the good guy. This is a special prosecutor who's a gangster, a criminal, an organized criminal. He's put there to protect you so you can steal and rob, which is why they throw Soros out of countries. So when I said that about him, he said I was an anti-Semite. I said, would you like to discuss it? I'm gonna prove to you I'm a better Jew than you are. Would you like to discuss it? That was the end of it. Because here's what they didn't want me to discuss, and I can go much further than this. So, ma'am, just consider this a favor. When he calls you an anti-Semite, I know you're not, because you're defending Israel. If you're criticizing George Soros, the man hates Israel. The man hates Jews.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were.
I don't know. Can I get them to see this, then?
Yeah, they can hear it. They can hear it.
Well, all right. I'll get them to hear it first, and then I'll
send it to me to hear it. And
I don't know how to send it to you.
My understanding is that you went out with this protector of yours who swore that you were his adopted guns. Yes. Went out, in fact, and helped in the confiscation of property. That's right. That sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult? No, not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child, you don't see.
He wasn't a child.
It created no problem at all. No feeling of guilt. No.
He wasn't a child. He's old enough to find the property. And even if he was a child, damn it, he knows what he did now. He went a lot further than property. Okay, let's say it's property. What do you think after the Nazis found the property, what do you think they did to the Jews? They gave them awards, George. And you want to call people anti-Semites? You don't have the standing to do it. You miserable, evil man. You don't have the standing to do it. You're not guilty over that, of turning in your own people. The Nazis find out where Jewish property was? And you want to call people, you pay people to call people anti-Semites? And you're the biggest supporter of the Democratic Party, and those bums take your money? I take your money and shove it up your you-know-what. This is the man who put 50-plus prosecutors in American cities who are getting Americans killed at rates unheard of. The biggest rates in the history of Philadelphia. Krasner, Soros, 4 million. So I don't know, you didn't just kill Jews, pal. You're killing Americans. You're killing black Americans, 7 out of 10. And they're taking your money. Not the good ones. The ones who represent them, who steal their money. My God, if the black politicians let the money get to the black community, you'd all be rich. You wouldn't need reparations. You'd be richer than him. Do you have any idea how much money has been sent to the poor black communities? Enough to make you Monaco. You know why you're not? Because you had Arafat standing in the way. You know what Arafats are? Arafats are guys who con Clinton, and Clinton negotiates with them for 10 years, and he gives them billions, and he steals it. And then when Clinton thinks he's given Arafat everything he wants, including Jerusalem. Clinton gave away Jerusalem. Maybe he was tied up at the time in a chair in the Oval Office on the phone. Oh yeah, you can have Jerusalem, Arafat. Yeah, just make sure there are some girls for me when I come over. That's all it would take with that guy, right? You know what Arafat did to Clinton when Clinton was going out of office? He said, "Stick it up your backside. I'm not going to stop the war. I'm not going to accept any of your conditions. You could give me Jerusalem. You could give me you could give me from the river to the sea that none of these communists who are demonstrating, Ivy League educated children, know the river or the sea. So I'm not going to tell them. A lot of their professors don't know it. They don't study things like we'll put out the map later, and this is the way I get them all off the television. See, they watch me sometimes, like, so they're going to see if they can complain about Soros, right? Watch. Let's see if they complain about Soros. Because I got a lot more, boys. So when you turn in the property of your fellow religionists to people who have sworn to eliminate your people, you'll do anything, won't you? Unless you have a conversion. But he didn't have a conversion. Somehow in that warped mind, we're paying the price for that. Those people being killed in Philadelphia at record high rates are paying the price for that sick thing. That the Democrat Party is, I mean, he's one of the leaders of the Democrat Party. His son's going to be one of the leaders. He's going out with, what the hell's her name? The one that was married to Weena Peener. Still lives with Weena. Her father was a alleged Islamic extremist. Now, that puts it mildly. Alleged. Sounds like a good combination. The son of a guy who hates Jews and the daughter of an alleged Islamic terrorist supporter. Well, he's an Islamic terrorist supporter too. It's alleged all over the place that he funnels money to Hamas. And they specialize in the killing of the people whose property he gave away. Yeah. Hamas, you know that. I mean, Hamas specializes in eliminating the Jewish people. According to the reports by people he alleges are anti-Semites, his organizations, which are many and multiple, one of which I know in Ukraine was corrupt as hell and was fixed as part of the Biden bribe. Exactly his connection to it, we can't, exactly the amount and the details, I can't tell you because I don't have it. But what I do have is the testimony of the prosecutor general of Ukraine. So it's not me, it's prosecutor general of Ukraine. It says the first thing he had to do is fix the case on the Soros company. And Soros corrupted completely their system by setting up a special prosecutor. And as I said, the first thing a special prosecutor did was throw out the case on his company, Soros's company. So this is the guy paying in part, probably large part, for the 2024 attacks against the United States of America through our universities. He's the one who paid for the 2020 attacks against America, in which they burned buildings, took over courthouses, did much worse than anything, even exaggerated on January 6th. Much worse. Much, much worse. And they all got away with it because they all in front of prosecutors who were crooked because they were put there by Soros. Very, very smart, right? He started organizing it in 15, 16. He put the prosecutors in, and then he had a big riot in Minneapolis, and he had a crooked prosecutor let everybody out. Oh, let's have one in Philadelphia. Let everybody out. Everybody in New York gets let out. Yeah, everybody you see arrested on the bridges and the 200 people they arrested at NYU, they were out. They got delayed a little. They were out like 4 or 5 hours. It was really inconvenient for them. Bragg really blew it. He really bullied. He let him actually stay in for 4 or 5 hours. And Bragg's a really, really tough guy. Really ballsy guy too. He's got to go to court every day, but he can't get up in court and talk. He can't cross-examine. He can't give opening statements. He can't give closing statements. He can't give legal arguments. Why? Because he's totally unqualified to be a prosecutor. Oh, no. He's totally unqualified to be a lawyer. One of the consolations of being suspended from the New York bar is I don't belong to the same bar that he does, because I'm really a lawyer. Unlike Obama, I was really on the law review by writing a article. He was really on the law review, and we can't find a single thing written about him. There's a lot of stuff about Obama you can't find. I'm not suggesting any of those conspiracies other than the fact that you can't find them, right? And I can tell you it's one big conspiracy how he got to be head of the Harvard Law Review when he never wrote a single note, a piece of paper. Every law review in the country, the competition is about who wrote the best notes. Because when you become the editor, you have to edit other people's notes. So you better be good at writing your own, right? Makes sense, right? But that's called a meritocracy. What Obama was trained in was a communist dictatorship, where you try someone like Trump, and we're now into the second week of the trial, and they haven't told him the crime he intended to commit with the false statement that's a true statement. So the law says that a minor little law, really minor little law, at the level of, considerably less than drunk driving, my goodness. It's called false business record. It's a misdemeanor, minor crime. Considerably less damaging to the public than, let's say, drunk driving. Or let's say Hunter Biden buying a 32 revolver and walking around with it while he's bonzo on drugs, like he usually was. So if Trump had done this, then the statement that was entered, which says legal fee, I believe, or legal payment, legal fee or legal payment, that's a crime. First of all, that's an accurate description of what it was. Even if you accept their lies are that he paid a hush money payment through his lawyer who paid it. Well, that's a legal payment. It's like when you settle a case. Suppose I settle a case through my lawyer and I give the lawyer the money. Now I have a little block about this big to fill it in, right? I put down legal payment to my, I can't even get in payment to my lawyer. I'm not going to write down hush. What hush money is not a legal term. In order to be guilty of a false statement, this is from a lawyer, not a guy like Bragg who's got to sit in the court like this, because if he got up to talk, who knows what would happen? Because he's not really a lawyer. He's also a massive coward for sitting there like a bump on a log. What is he, a plant in court? I mean, they got plants in court. They don't need him. He's afraid to try the case because he's really not a lawyer. He's a make-believe lawyer, just like Fannie Ho is a make-believe lawyer. She don't got to try the case. She went and got her incompetent lover boy to do it, who could be a go-between with the White House. These people are horrible. What you've done, those of you who voted for Biden, is a sin. But you were led to it by false information, a hidden hard drive, and one lie after another. Don't let it happen again, please. Do you want a country that isn't like Palestine? That's what they want. Now Biden is talking about bringing Palestinians in. That's really smart. Let's bring people in who learn at 2 years old to kill us. Why not? He lets them in anyway, right? He doesn't know who comes in. So why not know that they want to kill us when they come in? Right now, we've got 12 million. Could be that of those 12 million, 2 million want to kill us, 1 million, 3 million, 500,000. He wouldn't know. They only asked the Chinese 4 questions. Their favorite restaurant. Are they spies? Where do they want to live? And do they like Biden? Then when they say my favorite restaurant is Yo-Yo, someplace or other, that's okay, or I don't have one yet. And then I'm not being racist. I would say the same thing if they did it with Italians. They asked them only 4 questions. And they're foreigners. They could be mafia. How the hell do I know? You don't have a right to come into this country. And Joe Biden, you don't have the right to give him a right to come into this country. It's a privilege to come into this country. It should be governed by strict laws that protect us who are already here and who have given our lives for this country in one way or another. If we haven't done it through the military, we may have done it through law enforcement. We sure do it through taxation and pay your miserable salaries. And you don't do anything. None of you. You never get budgets on time. Even the Republicans. Republicans had a big press conference again today. Every day they have a press conference. Every day Johnson comes out and has a press conference. He doesn't do anything, but he has a press conference. It's terrible what's happening in these universities. They're being taken over by the Palestinians. And I'm going to call the president and tell him. I'm going to give him all the money he wants for crooked Ukraine. I'm not going to even bring up the fact that it's not a good idea to give money to crooks. I'm not going to bring up the fact that before Zelensky gets another penny, maybe he should turn over the records about your crimes in the Ukraine, or about the crimes of his predecessor, or all the other crooks in the Ukraine, so we can figure out if we're giving money to crooks and the Ukrainian people are getting screwed. Hey, Johnson, what about doing that? What the hell's wrong with you?
He's now demanding that Biden go to Columbia University.
What's that going to do if Biden goes to Columbia University? First of all, he won't even know he's there. Second, it would be dangerous. I mean, that's absolutely. Look, I can't stand Biden. Biden should go to jail for the rest of his life. Whatever. I don't want to see him killed. I'm not an animal like they are, or an irresponsible idiot like that. Biden should go to a place where, I mean,
We saw the video.
those people despise Biden.
Yeah.
You see, these are not, these are communists.
This is last.
And it's been true going back to Franklin Roosevelt and Wilson. The Democrat Party is infested with goons. All these people suck up, even Soros sucks up to them, right? If China takes over, don't worry, you'll go. But they'll go first. First people they get rid of are the people who cooperate with them. And they get rid of them because of a very simple reason. They don't respect them. They're rats. I put a lot of people on the witness stand, who were informants. Do you mean I respected them? I can keep a balance. I know what I'm doing. So we're going to be back in a few minutes, and we're going to show you the answer to what a reasonably intentioned, normally intelligent person would do about these Palestinians who have taken over, or Palestinian supporters who have taken over our universities. And it doesn't matter if they say Hamas or Palestine. They're saying the same thing. They hate Jews. They hate you. And they've been trained to kill both of us. We'll be back very shortly.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
You know, you just looked at one of my favorite guys. Michael is a true patriot. He's a true believer. I mean this in the best sense. He's a simple man who's very wealthy, who understands what he had to go through to take control of himself. It has a lot to do with a belief in God. And boy, when people believe in God, thank God. If this country did again, it would be great. You see that back there? This is a beach towel. Imagine going to the beach like this, like in a Democratic area.
MyPillow.com with the promo code Rudy. Wow, look how big that thing is.
What do you think? What do you think they would do if I took this down to Washington, D.C. and carried it around? I went to the beach there's no beach in Washington, D.C. It's a swamp. It's a freaking swamp.
MyPillow.com /
When you
Rudy.
say when you say it's a swamp, it is. How do you get one of these? You can't even see the whole darn thing. You really can't. Look at this. Look, I have a suggestion.
Towel.
You get a couple of these beach towels. You use some of them for the beach in order to irritate the liberals. They'll go nuts. If you like, if you don't mind a little fisticuffs and can handle it, you'll scare them off by just putting your fists up. They'll go like this.
Won't last.
Liberals are basically sissies. That's why they're liberals. They're basically sissies. Why do you think cities turn into criminal havens when liberals take over? Because they're afraid of criminals. So they do everything criminals want. They put them out on the street. Who the hell do you think the criminals are going to vote for? And the illegals, if they get to vote. Well, that would be unbelievable if the illegals got to vote. Some idiot reporter said today that Biden's going to let the Palestinians in so they could vote. They can't vote. They're not citizens. I think they can't vote unless Giuliani and Trump were right. And they did steal the election last time. And they're so cavalier about it. They just say like, well, we'll bring the Palestinians in to vote. It's the same thing as in Georgia and Atlanta. You can tell how crooked they are when Fannie Ho says, I got the cash from my campaign funds. The judge who's what that means? The judge doesn't even react because he has no sense of ethics. Nobody in Georgia reacts. The governor, my God, the governor wouldn't react. Governor Kemp and ethics? Governor Kemp? Ethics? Decency? Get out of here. Wait till you find out about him. How stupid your Republicans are in Georgia to back that guy and buy it. Wow. He screws you over and over again in his deals with the Democrats. But here he's got the district attorney of one of the biggest counties on the witness stand who says she took money from her campaign fund and used it for personal reasons. She's walking around prosecuting the next president of the United States. She's not under indictment. She said it like 10 weeks ago. I'd have her indicted and convicted by now. She wants to do a speedy trial. I'll show a speedy trial. I can prepare a case overnight. That wouldn't be tough since she confessed. And then, of course, if I ever had subpoena power, I mean, I developed everything on Biden that I have without any subpoena power, with the unbelievable opposition of the FBI, CIA, probably agency I don't even know of, while they were investigating me, tormenting me, throwing me into bankruptcy. Imagine if I had subpoena power again. Wow. And you wonder things like, did anybody ever take a look at how Biden's homes were purchased?
That's simple.
So I even say to my friend, the old wrestler, Jordan, how come we don't know how his homes were purchased? It's not like maybe they think it's rocket science. No, you do something called a subpoena, and then you serve it on the bank. Yeah, there are even, I don't know if you know this, but there are even public records of mortgages and purchases and homes. And oh gosh, and they go back. Of course, we're an English country in the sense of our derivation of our law. Our property law is enormously complex. And our property records are pretty damn good. And if they're missing and they're in Delaware, we can find out why they're missing. And maybe we got even a bigger crime. But what the hell is wrong with you? I mean, I think with a little bit of discussion with my granddaughter Grace, she'd be able to figure it out. That you go get the property records. You don't want to look at them. Tell me exactly why. Why hasn't anybody subpoenaed all of Fannie Ho's? What are you waiting for her to put me in jail first? Why hasn't anybody subpoenaed all of her campaign records? See how much. Anybody want to know how much money she took out? She took out enough money, she claims, to pay her lover boy, the incompetent, completely useless prosecutor, who was a go-between and spy for the White House. That's what he was being paid for. Several trips to Washington, where he billed 24 hours. He billed for his sleeping. These are like people who have committed massive historical crimes that will be in our history books when we have history again. And they actually are also petty little criminals. The little shiesty billed 24 hours of work. Now, what could he have been doing in the middle of, gee, I never thought of that. I don't really think so. I looked at the two of them. I don't really think it was about that at all. I think it was about stealing money and framing Trump and getting credits with the Democrat Party. And, you don't remember, even before she was taking a bribe directly, she was coming up to Washington raising hundreds of thousands. I don't know how much, but way more than a district attorney does, because the Democratic Party was paying her off for indicting Trump and me. Except for the Soros people who are expected to let numerous criminals go who will kill black people. Most DAs don't raise the kind of money she did, and it's very rare that they have people from all over the country that want to give them money. Certainly not honest ones. Well, she got money all over the country because the Democrats hate Trump and they're giving her money because she indicted Trump. That's not a bribe. That's a better theory than, it gets closer to a crime than the crooked judge in New York has. He hasn't come up with a crime yet. The indictment I was looking for. The indictment says that Trump did the business record, which they say is false, but it's actually true. This is all we're doing Orwell now. So if I say false, it's true. If I say true, it's false. It's hard to follow. So if they say that his statement was false, his statement would definitely be true. So it was true. The statement on the record for which they begin the prosecution is legal payment. It was a legal payment. And that's a perfectly adequate description of it. For a false statement, you don't get into all kinds of ambiguities. It's got to be clearly false. That statement is not clearly false. But there are a couple of other problems with it. The statute of limitations says, Ron, you can't prosecute the person who did it anymore for it because it's too long ago. Too long ago is not a technicality. Too long ago exists to protect your right to be able to defend yourself. Because if they charge you with something, too long ago, it's hard to defend yourself. So the law in America, which would get a lot of us prosecutors who were legitimate even annoyed, is basically built around protecting the defendant. That the first 10 amendments don't exist at all for the government. Madison and Hamilton and Jay and the people who wrote those, they wrote that for the protection of the individual against a tyrannical government. because they suspected that at some time in the future, just like England became tyrannical, we would. And they got it predicted just right. It would become, they believed, a tyranny of democracy, a tyranny of the majority. Well, they're not really the majority. They're the fake majority that was done by election fraud. But on record, they're the majority, and they got the power of the majority. And they are treating their opponents the way communists do, the way Nazis do, the way people in Venezuela do, the way Castro did. They put them in jail. So we can't complete the crime with the false statement. First of all, because it's true, and second, because it's barred. So it has to be in pursuance of another crime. In other words, you have to be able to charge and prove that he did the false statement. So this gets a little crazy because it's not a false statement. It should stop there if we were in America. But we're in New York, which is a Democrat Party dictatorship most of the time in its history. A few exceptions: me, LaGuardia, Bloomberg. Go back further, I guess you'll find a few Republicans. Certainly wasn't too honest when it didn't vote for Lincoln. I mean, there had to be all kinds of party crap there because it was a northern state. It was an anti-slavery state. What the hell is New York doing voting against Lincoln, who freed the slaves? New York didn't have slaves, and New York was abolitionist. That's one of the few good things about us. Right? But they voted against Lincoln because he was a Republican. Because I'm sure, I don't know the history, so I shouldn't make it up, but I'm sure it had to do with money, keeping control of the various con jobs and that they have, which is what goes on now. I mean, every time Adams brings in another group of these illegals that are beating the living crap out of us, he does a contract. The contract is always 3 to 4 times more than anybody imagines it should be. And he does it as an emergency and never does bidding. Now, you could come in and say, Mayor Adams, I could do that for half of what those guys that you pal around with when you go out at night do, or the people who contribute to your campaign, or the guy that you helped get a homeless thing and they found, what did they find, rats in the food? He was pulling out for himself like a cool $1 million a year. Your friend who contributed to you. I mean, the crooked nature of this city is indescribable. And you won't believe me. All I have to do is show it to you on paper and you'll believe me. New York City spends as much money as the entire state of Florida. New York City has 8.2 million people and declining, big time. Florida has what? 22 million and going up big time. That's more than 2 times. And we spend the same amount of money. And we're just a city. And they're a state. Now, we also get all of the so-called benefits from the state we pay taxes to. You know what New York spends compared to Florida? New York has 2 million less people. Crooked Hochul and every crooked Democrat in the legislature who votes for this budget spends 2.5 times, 2 times Florida plus. 2 times Florida plus. And we have 2 million less people. And I go back and forth between both places. This place is cleaner. It's better policed. It's municipal services. I just got a driver's license. Is impeccable. Not just for me. I watched the lines and the way they were handled. I know the Motor Vehicle Bureau in New York is like a joke. Almost everybody in New York City, 4 boroughs working for the city, is there because of the Democrat Party, including the crooked judges that you see who say, I'm a Supreme Court justice. And Boaz, I was originally put on by Donald Maness before he committed suicide when Giuliani caught him taking millions of dollars in bribes. And I only had to give him $100,000. When I became mayor, 3 of them came up for reappointment. I put all those bums in jail. I didn't reappoint them. And even Mayor Koch got mad at me for not reappointing them. The bums had paid off for their judgeship. I was expected to reappoint them. I said, hey, you didn't elect a Democrat, guys. Tough shit. They're going to go where they're supposed to. I can't prove they paid $100,000 a Manus, but my witness told me everybody did, and I believe my witness. I don't believe you because you're a bunch of crooked Democratic politicians. And this isn't a trial. It's about, I got to be sure, beyond any doubt, I got an honest person on the bench. So if there's any chance they were crooked, and if you're hanging around with Manus, I got to figure you're crooked. I'm not putting you on the bench. Nobody told me what to do, but you. You told me what to do. I really believe that. Like, it's not a fairy tale. For these guys, it's not even a fairy tale. It's a joke. So we got George Washington University now 7 days under siege, which is now literally Palestinian territory. We've got Colombia, where the president of Colombia is first Muslim president of Colombia. And boy, is she destroying it from Muslim presidents of any place. First of all, why the hell they put her there? And she was sympathetic to the, I mean, you can be Muslim and not be sympathetic to the 9/11 people who came here and killed us, right? Yeah, well, she was sympathetic to them. As far as I'm concerned, bye-bye. Go back to Palestine or where the hell you came from, you know? Yeah, and go back to your old laws and see what happens to you, lady. Now these idiots, LGBTQ, SYZ, FPT, the ones who want to mutilate children, etc., they're all in favor of Palestine and Iran. Palestine, it's 10 years for being gay. I don't know what happens if you're trans. I mean, gay is 10 years, a real 10 years. In a prison, I mean, I know people that have been in Palestinian and Iranian prisons. They're not prisons. They're torture chambers. So you get tortured for 10 years for being gay. And you're for Palestine? I didn't say Hamas. I said Palestine. Palestine puts you, it's a law of the land. You go to jail for 10 years if you're gay in the place you are protesting for, in the one that you think is no different, that's different than Hamas. You don't even know what the hell Hamas is. It's not different than Hamas, not with regard to your life and your safety and what the hell's going to happen to you. And it's relying on the same damn second half of the Quran to do it. They're making it up. Muhammad taught them that. You want to come and kill me now? You do have several fatwas. Stick your fatwas up your headscarf. A commercial? Okay. But the headscarf's always got me. I'm going to tell you about the headscarves later and my thing with Arafat. That headscarf really annoyed me. Really, really. Mostly it annoyed me that he killed 27 Americans and Clinton was kissing his ass. But probably literally, well, never mind. We'll be back in a few minutes.
Is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
Subscriptions.
You can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it and I use it, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
5 to 7 points.
So I want you to have a little hope that we can save this country. This is our hope. Those are the swing states. He's leading in every single one. Now, admittedly close. The funny thing is, these are the states they stole from him last time. And these are the numbers, although they were a little higher, that he had before they started stealing. I mean, the thing about it that can make you pretty confident they stole is before they closed down the voting, which they weren't supposed to, he was ahead in every state that he lost. In other words, when they counted the votes after he was ahead by 800,000, he lost every state. So let's look at them here. He was ahead in, well, Arizona doesn't count because they really hadn't started the voting before Fox called it corruptly for Biden, without any doubt, corruptly, to try to swing, the whole momentum, because it turned out to be a 50-50 vote, really, right? Even if you don't believe that he was cheated there, he lost by what, a point? You don't call a state before any votes are in that ends up a point without your being corrupt, when you're having corrupted the data. You don't think Fox is corrupt? Did you ever hear Fox talk about Soros like that? Actually, I once saw a Fox show get shut down because Newt Gingrich pointed out that Soros had been involved in getting Jewish people, I think, maybe killed. And the show got shut down. They all got nervous and said that you can't, that's anti-Semitic. What is anti-Semitic about making a charge that a Jewish person did something wrong? Particularly when it's a Jewish person that hates Jewish people. Particularly when it's a Jewish person who admittedly, at the worst time for the Jewish people in history, turned in the property of other Jews. Gee, that'd be the last guy you would think, if you criticized him, you'd almost think the person was pro-Semitic by criticizing Soros, and had a lot of guts because Soros likes to sue you. But Fox just closed it right down. Sometime we'll get the footage. You can see how scared they got, which will give you an idea of how the deep state operates. But he's leading in all these states, just like he was leading the night of the election in all these states. But then the Democrats got to work on him, and he lost all these states but one. And that was one they didn't close down the vote. That was North Carolina. North Carolina, they left alone. They figured maybe North Carolina's honest. Could be. Nevada, of course, has got Las Vegas. So you're not going to win there with the unions. Michigan? I'm sorry, Ted, but since I explained that my own state is corrupt as hell, yours isn't too far behind. Georgia, good state, most of the places, except you got a governor and a secretary of state, or is he attorney? What the hell is Raffensperger? I mean, he's the chief liar in Georgia, but what else is he? Secretary of State, right? Yeah. Slimy. Well, Georgia, he was winning there. He's winning now there. I wonder if this is just the same vote. Maybe it never changed, except for the phony ones they put in. That's about the margin he was ahead when they stole it from him, too, in Georgia, 47-44, Ted.
Yeah, I would say.
So at the night of the election, Georgia stops counting it. Remember, it's the whole thing about was there a complete water main break, or wasn't there? Well, there wasn't a water main break, but there's tape, and the tape shows you, there's tape that's been doctored also, which you haven't gotten to see, because the New York bar, in cahoots with Raffensperger, is illegally, corruptly using it to try to disbar me, and had no react. It was kind of like, it was the same reaction, Ted, as when Fannie the Hoe said, I took money from my campaign funds. Everybody just looked perfectly normal.
Yeah.
When I stood up in court after we stayed up all night and showed that they gave me a tape of the women who sued me and got all that money.
Yeah.
And they deleted 3 hours of 12 hours on the tape. Now, you say 3 hours sounds kind of funny. It's actually, there are 4 tapes that are showing similar parts of the arena. So you have ultimately like 36 hours or 24 hours of tape. So you have 3 hours missing. But of the relevant portions, it would be more like an hour. Now, I'm going to tell you how I went through it. And one day I think we're going to reconstruct this on television and show it to people. So I'm getting ready for the next day of my frame up. It wasn't a trial. I mean, I had a hearing officer, another Democrat. She convicted me on day one, spent her time on her phone. Had no reaction when we showed that the tapes were missing 3 hours. And the prosecutor never bothered to tell anybody that. In fact, the prosecutor didn't seem to know it. So I can't tell who the real source of corruption here, Rafsenberg's office, who sent them the tape like that, or the prosecutor who says, well, we never really figured it out. Now, they figured it out enough to go through it and charge me and try to disbar me, which means they looked at the tapes. I looked at the tapes too. But I have a couple of differences between them and me. First of all, I'm a lot more intelligent. Secondly, I'm honest. And I got a hell of a memory. I had seen those tapes before. I'm looking at them and I'm saying to Ted, the stuff isn't here. The stuff these women did isn't here. Even innocent stuff they did isn't here. Like walking around. Right? What happened to them? And I'm looking at the tape and the numbers are going along just fine and it looked good. And then all of a sudden, thank you, God, because I got an intervention. I'm looking at it and the scene changed like that. It's like, I'm looking at it, it's moving along. There were 5 people in it. Now there's 1 person in it. Like a fraction of a second later. And I'm saying to myself, what's going on? Now I look at the top and I see the numbers are perfectly sequential. How am I going to prove this? Then we take a better look at the tape and they forgot to remove the original timer from the arena. And the original timer from the arena, once you stayed up all night and did it, revealed that on this 24, all the 3 hours are missing. And the 3 hours happened to be in the key time when they excluded the public, the key time when they threw them out, the key time when they cased the joint, like I said, the key time when they were counting votes. I'm going to show you this again. We've done it before. I have some of it. Not anywhere near the scope of their doing it, but all you got to do is do it once to go to federal prison. We should have them doing about 12, 15 times, about 12 times. I'll tell you what it looks like. It looks like this. We'll show them tomorrow night. It takes a little while to find it. You want to look for it while I'm doing this? So they take the ballots and they put it in. But the ballots get finished. They take them out. And they're supposed to do that with them. They put them in again. And they do it 4 times. Now, as I said, the lying state prosecutor, dishonorable and dishonest state prosecutor who should have owned up to this and dismissed the case when he hands me misleading tapes missing 3 hours, should have just dismissed the case. Because who knows what else he was misled with. I don't think he knew. I don't think he would have given it to me that way. The guy's not stupid. He just didn't bother to look because he's not stupid, but he's brainwashed. And he's suffering from a serious case of not just Trump derangement syndrome, but obsessive Giuliani hatred, and maybe even jealousy. I mean, who did more as a prosecutor in New York than me? Not him, right? And I'm a Republican, and I'm a Trump person in the most corrupt democratic city in America. So you take me down, pretty good. So they put it in, they count it second time. Take it back, reorganize the same ballots, put it in the fourth time. I take it out, then you go whole new, and you see this, you see one of them who's involved in my case do it twice, and then you see her cohort who isn't involved in the case but work for them do it 2 or 3 times. Now, if we had all of the tape, you'd see a lot more of it. You'd see a lot more of it.
The people that are watching, you can just see what happened. 3 minutes elapsed in 1 second on the clock.
It's hard to, I mean, we really have to, it's hard to see this. Of course, the judge looked at this and had no reaction. I don't know, maybe she thought, maybe she'd like to believe I doctored the tapes. Maybe I'm going to get charged with doctoring the tapes, Ted. That would be perfect. I mean, that they would charge me with what they did. But then they're going to have to supply the original tapes, which show these women running around like chickens without a head, excluding the people. I mean, we shouldn't even be fighting about this. Do you see how empty that was? They were counting ballots for sure. Nobody disputes this while it was empty like that. That's a violation of Georgia law, and it makes all of the ballots arguably invalid. I certainly have a right to argue it. When it looks like that, you can't count votes. And another section at exactly this time, they're counting votes, but there's no members of the public around. It violates Georgia law. And the ballots are invalid. Their argument is, well, nobody's going to declare those ballots invalid. That's a harsh penalty. That's the law. Not a harsh penalty. It's the law. And second, you're trying to disbar me as a lawyer. And what do you want me to do? Not argue the law in favor of my client? The law says there should be people around. There are no people around. I'm going to argue for the strongest possible remedy for my client, unless I'm a lousy, disgruntled, miserable, decrepit lawyer like you. See what I'm saying? If there are 2 interpretations, as a lawyer for a client, I don't say there are 2 interpretations. And my client could be guilty, but he might not be guilty. I argue the one interpretation for him. That's what a lawyer does. That's what I was trained to do. That's why I was so successful. That's why he was so unsuccessful and bitter. Because he's a guy in search of a cause for himself. I know them. I know these. I don't even want to get into the religion part and the whole thing. I know them. I know what's going on in his crazy head. It's really sad. It's sad, actually, ultimately, that when he was presented with the doctored tapes that they tried to get past me, it didn't shake him up and he had an honest reaction to it. It shows thorough dishonesty, not just. When we presented him, Ted, with that much missing from the tape, and they gave it to me without telling me, hoping to fool me. And even if they didn't know they did it, if they did it unknowingly and negligently because they're not good lawyers and don't check the way I do, then they were being had by Georgia, and they have to doubt their whole case because that's where it came from. I'm not being disbarred for something I did in New York. I'm being disbarred for something I did in Georgia. And then in Washington, I'm not being disbarred for anything I did in Washington. I'm being disbarred for something I did in Pennsylvania in a case I tried there in which the judge never sanctioned me for anything. And my opponents never did. That's the way you usually get sanctioned, not by a probably paid, but definitely political adversary, nut, civilian, writing a nasty letter about you, drawing every inference against you. including every inference against you, in that if there are two interpretations of the law, which says you can't count ballots without the public being present, and there are two interpretations that I'm arguing, even a new interpretation, like they should be barred, well, that's illegal. Who says that's illegal? That's what I'm supposed to do as a lawyer. This is what you get put through by the fascists, who now are lining up in these universities. I don't know what is it that they want. They want Palestine to be a state. Well, so does crooked Blinken. He wants Palestine to be a state, and so does dishonest Biden. Now, you decide, American people, if we should create another terrorist state. The minute Palestine becomes a state, it will definitely be anti-American because they chant regularly, death to Israel, death to America. They will immediately ally with Iran. So Blinken and Biden and all the Democratic Party and all of these anti-American hating, whatever they are, Muslims, non-Muslims, American haters, communists, they actually want us to create a state that hates us when we don't have to. And they want us to create a state that will ally with a country that wants to destroy us. Does this make any sense to you? Except that we are undergoing the latter stages of what Karl Marx wrote about. And they've been infiltrating forever and ever. They did a good job in the Roosevelt administration. How the hell do you think Eastern Europe became all communist? Because good old Franklin, who for the, at least it was before he didn't know who he was, but Franklin went through I don't know who I am when he was running in 44 and went to Yalta in 45 and didn't know who the hell he was and gave away Poland. Polish people killed by the communists could thank Franklin Delano Roosevelt, just like the people in Ukraine can thank one person, Joe Biden. Trump had been president, the people in Ukraine would be alive. We can count the group of casualties under Biden, people he got killed, people of Ukraine, for sure. And people would trace it to what he did in Afghanistan. I think it would have happened even without Afghanistan. Putin had him pegged as a coward and a communist sympathizer when he was young, a guy they could always mold, and also somebody who didn't know what the hell was going on. And he got Blinken around him and people like that. And they got Biden in the background who was trained by communists. I mean, Obama, what the hell? So, you want to take another break?
Yeah.
Oh, I hate breaks. Well, let's take another break. Delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now. So here's the answer to what we do with the protesters. Real simple. First of all, Mayor Adams and Mayor Bowser, actually, they should just go. They should go. Adams, we should give Adams, make a deal with him, give him a nice nightclub that he could run, stay in all night, and really enjoy himself. And then, what else does he like to do? He likes to go to nightclubs, and he talks to God. But God, he can talk to whether he's the mayor or not. God was talking to him before he was mayor. Maybe I don't think God's talking to him much now, given the results. But Mayor Adams, who is not exactly a legal expert, I don't think he's a lawyer. He really wasn't a cop. He was an activist, a black activist, who I am told made 7 arrests, but nobody tells me the names of the people arrested or what they did. It could be like people like Trump who did nothing. Maybe they filed false business reports. Yeah, that's right. He was an expert on false business report. So so Adam says, I can't go into Colombia. They put up the Palestinian flag. They take down the American flag. They push people around. They push Jewish people around. They won't let Jewish people in. They yell and scream about every once in a while you'll get a death to America, but he can't go in there. He has to be invited in. And Bowser must have talked to him. She's the mayor in the most violent Washington in history. Good job, Muriel. You're not going to be in the great mayor's club like me, You're going to be in the, oh my God, like de Blasio, Dinkins, people like that. And Adams, of course. So you're the same thing. GW has had 7 days, I think more violent than Columbia. We haven't been paying as much attention because they do a better job of censoring things in Washington. It's even a more corrupt group of news. Is this
W.
and what are we looking at here?
W.
But what is the picture of? I see all these people having a picnic. That's the campus of George Washington, all those tents.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that Soros allegedly bought. He could have bought them better tents. I mean, the guy's loaded. Maybe his son is cheap, is cheap in comparison to him. But I'm told, actually, though, I should correct that. I'm told those tents are pretty damn expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a name. They have.
Live for the most part. We were here for a call to prayer earlier this afternoon. Now, students did tell me that over the weekend, GW University police attempted to arrest the students, so several of them took down the metal barricades that you saw.
When did they last study it? I know they've been having this protest for 7 days, but when do you think they actually studied a subject like, geography?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question.
Probably 20 years ago.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah, Western civilization went somewhere, 30 years ago. They don't, from what we can tell when we go there, when we listen to them talking, I don't think they ever studied English.
Yeah, they certainly don't.
They sure as heck don't know how to put sentences together. I mean, they are good on words like "ev" and
short little chants,
which they repeat constantly.
Yeah, and then short little chants.
And then they also have an enormous number of people walking around, who you can't tell if they're men or women or girls or boys. And those people I want to go warn that don't show up in Palestine that way, pal.
What's your reaction to that? What if these protesters somehow reached out to the mayor's office and were making these demands? I'd like to get your response if you were mayor and these were these being protested.
To provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
I'm not going to get invited in. Well, they have created, remember 4 years ago, it was defund the police. Now it's law enforcement by invitation. Police are not allowed in unless the rioters and the terrorists and the criminals allow you in. So if they can get you in a private, what they regard as a private place, they can beat the living crap out of you and never invite the police in. There's no such thing as he can't go into Columbia. Columbia is not sacred. Nor is George Washington. God damn it! There's streets of Washington, D.C. I walk through George Washington. I'd be damned if some Islamic extremist loving president who liked the people who killed my citizens on 9/11, that's Manouchi Shafiki, if she's going to tell me to stay out of Columbia, well, if you want to stay out of Columbia, get it the hell out of New York, sweetheart, because I'm coming in, I'm identifying every one of those creeps because I suspect them of being a danger to the national security of the United States. Last time I checked, you Islamic extremist loving pig, Israel is an ally of the United States, and the Islamic extremists want to kill me like they kill my friends. And you're on their side. So every one of those that's protesting in favor of Palestine, where people are taught to kill me, are a danger to my national security and to the national security of the Jewish people in America. Every single one is suspected of that. I didn't say they did it. I said they were suspected of that. This is how you do law enforcement when you're an adult and you're honest and you're not owned by a democratic machine. When are you going to wake up, America, and throw them out so we can be safe? This is a disgrace. And this is going to get more and more violent, largely because of our sellout, crooked politicians and our weak Republicans who have no idea how to stand up. In the middle of this, they have a press conference, and they're going to ask Biden to go to Columbia. They should ask Biden to deport every single foreigner right now at Columbia protesting. They have no right to come into our country and protest against Israel. It endangers our national security. It creates a reasonable suspicion that they would harm us or our Jewish citizens. It's a privilege to be here, not a right. If they're American citizens and they did it, we got to find out how far they went. If they didn't go far enough, we can't prosecute them. If they did go far enough, goddamn right, we should prosecute them. Right away. And the ones who are foreigners, I don't care if they have visas from Italy, Germany, Ireland. Out. You come here and you start anti-Semitic, anti-Israel protest against our greatest ally, and I'm not going to suspect that you're a danger to my national security? I don't know, just wearing those stupid scarves when there's no sand to be protected from is suspicion that you're some kind of a freak Islamic extremist. You know why they wear that? They wear that to protect themselves against sand. As last time I was at Morningside Heights, if that's where it is, they didn't have a lot of sand. Now Washington has a lot of swamp crap. Probably a lot of manure from all the homeless people. New York too. But you don't need a scarf to protect yourself against the manure left by the homeless people that Adams has increased to astounding record numbers. We have more homeless people than about 40% of the cities in America.
Let's give them a little cover.
Yeah, and they don't use things like toilets. When they don't want to. And they can do what they want. We have been told why.
NYPD is staging around the campus with riot gear. And it appears that they may be moving to remove all protesters from the campus.
phone died.
A week later, and much more damage, much more physical damage, possibly serious injury. The answer, if you want to come to mayor's school, any of you communists, the answer is you stop a riot before it starts. And when a riot starts, you should be fired as a mayor. You should never have a riot. There's no such thing as a riot in America. This is a civilized country. This isn't Palestine. And it shouldn't be made Palestine. So now that they're taken out, they should all be turned over to the Immigration Service if they're not American citizens. Every single one. And they should all be investigated for being a danger to our national security. If they burned a flag, if they held a Palestinian flag and yelled about Israel, they should be immediately deported to Palestine, where they belong. Biden has the power to do it. The chances of doing it are just as good as the chances that he has an honest bone in his body. They're not going to do it. But Adams is getting worried now about re-election, and Minucci Shafiki is probably gone, I would hope. I really don't think, irrespective of all this, we should have somebody who sympathized with the 9/11 murderers and terrorists as the head of Columbia, unless we want to rename it the Palestinian University, which is the same thing as the Hamas University. They share in common the hatred of Jews and Americans. So do we have any live pictures?
Yeah, it appears that NYPD have made their way onto campus.
Invited? This is law enforcement by invitation? Have they been invited?
We are trying to confirm whether or not they were invited, Mayor.
Did they get, I mean, is there like a piece of paper now that you get? Like, I don't remember when my cops would go in and break up a beating or see, we didn't have riots. So they didn't like do this to me.
You didn't have to deal with it.
They didn't do this to me.
Well, we're checking with some of our sources.
I told them if they did, they'd only do it once.
That would be it.
I had a lot more cops than they did. I had a lot of prison space. Oh my goodness, did I have prison space? And I like putting them in prison.
Yeah.
I like it. And I like putting them in prison and seeing if I can keep them there a very long time. I mean, I enjoy it. You see, I actually think I'm keeping my people safe if I do that. So I didn't like that. And they didn't vote for me. And if they did, I'd actually give them the vote back. I mean, the ones that could vote.
Yeah.
Like if you don't love America and you vote for me, please vote for somebody else. Or if you are in favor of Palestine, would you vote for somebody else, please? I don't want your vote. And all of this corruption by Biden, where he's screwing Israel, and not all of it. I'm being simplistic now, but a lot of it is being caused by that little thing that you see in Michigan. See, when we look at Michigan here, this is causing him double crossing Israel. You see that? He should be ahead by 4 or 5 in Michigan. Now, if he were ahead by 4 or 5 in Michigan, would you believe the fact that I think we would win Michigan? In a normal case, right now, if Trump were within 4 or 5 points in any one of these states, I would tell you he's going to win it.
Yeah, I agree.
This is an extraordinary poll for a Republican to see. The one that's even more extraordinary is he's leading in the national poll, which means nothing, by 5%. When's the last time we won the popular vote?
4.
That means that this vote is bigger than you think. It's always true with Trump. You give me one poll, one time, that Trump didn't outperform the polls. Whoa, NYPD given permission. Did you see that?
Given permission to enter the campus. Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's a new thing in law enforcement.
Isn't that nuts?
Big riot at NYU. I can just see it now. Get me the president of NYU, Tony. Hello, Mr. President. You got a riot there? Yeah. Okay, we'll be there. Oh, we're not giving you permission to come in. I said, you what? We're not giving you permission to come in. I said, well, exactly how do you intend to stop us? Well, we're just telling you not to come in. I said, are you going to close the gates? I mean, we're really good at breaking down gates. What are you going to do to stop me from coming in? Did you become part of a new city that nobody told me? That ground there fits within the Constitution and the laws of the state and the city of New York. And I'm the mayor, and all you are is the president of a decrepit university that brainwashes kids. I mean, you're not even a person I have any respect for because you don't teach. You brainwash. But in any event, even if I had respect for you, you're not going to stop me from coming into your campus. Who the hell do you think you are? God? Now, I do have an answer to this. I'm coming in right now. In fact, we're in already. Well, I'm talking to you because I do two things at once. But you can settle this problem real simple, and I'll help you. Just move everything to Palestine. And they'll give you a special place where the mayor won't come in without permission. And you can work it all out with them. And you like them better anyway. You burn our flag. You put their flag up. You hate the Jewish people, and they're one of the largest number of people in our population. You kind of frighten everybody because you keep talking about killing them, and sometimes you do. So we don't have to have these problems all the time. You just freaking move out. And also, if we had a president like a President Trump or a President Reagan, maybe even a President Bush, maybe, they should all be defunded. Why are they getting federal money in order to be an ally of a country that hates us? What, are we crazy? We are. I mean, actually, it probably isn't as bad as giving money to giving money to the Ayatollah at a time when he was killing Americans so he could use it to kill us. But that was Obama, who should have been in jail. That's really one of the great injustices in American history, that Obama wasn't in prison for giving cash to the Ayatollah. I might have stopped all this, by the way, if we showed that we really didn't have, special laws for a black president. Laws like you can't make fun of him on Saturday Night Live, and laws that you can't prosecute him when he gives cash to terrorists. Bad thing. You got elected president, that's a wonderful thing. It shows our country is not racist. We then had special rules for him, which shows we do have a lot of racism left on the left. Let's see. Judge Mershon. Judge Mershon, I love it, Ted. You guys get credit for this. All of you are still hanging on for soccer time in particular because you're the real. You back down. I told you the whip. Told you. He let him go to Barron's graduation. Now, that decision, deciding on the constitutionality of immunity is a very, very deep legal decision that requires a lot of thought. Deciding whether a man can go to his son's graduation doesn't take 3-4 weeks. Only two reasons it happens. You're a complete blithering idiot fool, and he's not. Mershon's not a fool. Or you're a completely unfair, dishonorable man who is a disgrace to the robes he's wearing.
That's right.
And really, really demeaning any vestige that a New York Supreme Court justice in New York is honest. I mean, you're presiding over a trial where you haven't even told him the crime he's accused of completely. You haven't told him the major part of it, the key part. What's the felony that he supposedly was furthering with the true statement that he made? For the life of me, I can't figure out why the case isn't thrown out. But we pounded the little weakling, and he caved. He only gave him a $9,000 fine too. That little pussy is afraid to put him in jail. He wants to in the worst way. He wants to put Trump in jail in the worst way. But he's not like a real man, you know. Sometimes, you know, the other side, they can be real men, like they're tough, like the mafia, right? They're not like pussies. They're evil, like Biden's evil, but they're not weaklings like Biden. This guy's a real weakling, protecting his daughter. You can't say anything about my daughter, Trump. She can make millions beating the crap out of you. Cohen just today was beating the crap out of Trump, but you can't say anything about Cohen. That's not right. I mean, this is America, and Republicans don't have a right of free speech, only Democrats. Everybody knows that. I was taught that in Democrat school. Yeah, there's a Democrat school. They teach them how to say one thing and do another, or charge you with a crime but not tell you what the crime is and say it's all right. Things like that. So let's keep pounding this guy. Who knows? If we pound him enough, he might actually require Bragg to tell Trump what he's charged with. I mean, Bragg's in the courtroom. He doesn't talk. Maybe he can't, maybe I'm being very insensitive. Maybe he can't talk. Could he be sick? Could Bragg be ill and he can't talk? And that's why he can't cross-examine and do the things
that's got to be it, right?
That manly lawyers, people who have a sense of, of the importance of something like this.
A big case like this?
Yeah, or who have respect for themselves and don't want to look like silly little wussies that have to go hire people to fight their battles for them.
Or maybe he's almost admitting, oh my God, I don't want to be, he knows this is a lawfare. And so he doesn't want to be, but I think both are true, right? He doesn't try his own cases. Yeah.
Because he can't try. He's not trying any cases.
They're not trying any cases. That's a good point.
You got somebody that might have confessed 40 times, and he doesn't go to court and try that either. I know him. I know lawyers who are afraid to go to court. I had lawyers who used to faint the first time they went to court. I'm sorry. Lawyers, why do you think lawyers settle cases right before the trial? Because they're afraid to go to trial. It's an exceptional lawyer that likes to go to trial. And it's a really exceptional lawyer who's good at it. He's not even a lawyer, really. I listen to him talk. He doesn't talk like a lawyer. I'm not going to tell you what he talks like. And how about Fannie, man? She doesn't talk like a lawyer at all.
Oh, my God.
But she's in it. She's in it for the money or maybe for the revolution. Her father was a Black Panther after all.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's really weird. All these Black Panther people involved in all this stuff. Like when we looked at Black Lives Matter, all the Black Panther people who were involved. So Biden's approval rating right now and the handling of the war, 28%. Who the hell are they? Among they don't get. I didn't get. I've got to get the whole poll, but they broke down 30. That's the overall poll. 28% approval rating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever heard of a 28% approval rating, but in any event, 28% approval rating. Now, 81% disapprove, but they have a little caveat on it. It says of people under 35. I don't think the 28% is, but I think the 81% is. So by tomorrow, we got to get this whole poll and see, what's the overall number? What's the overall number of people that approve or disapprove? So 28% approve, we know that. 81% of those 35 and under disapprove, which of course is very dangerous for him because theoretically that's his vote.
Yeah.
He's going to have to get their vote and they disapprove of his handling of a very, very controversial war. But I'd like to know the overall thing. So now Blinken and Biden have completely caved in and said that, and Blinken has even, Blinken be a little stunad. He could also, as well as being a communist. You know what stunad means among Italians? It means a little stupid. He actually said that he's giving a very, how did he describe it? A very good deal, happy deal, generous deal, very generous deal to Hamas. Yeah. Give a very generous deal to Hamas.
Isn't that amazing?
Basis in the world, would you give a very generous deal to Hamas?
Isn't it amazing? Generous. And he called it generous. This is a group that to this day are holding hostages, including American hostages. To this day.
On what basis do you give them a generous deal?
It's insane.
They're a terrorist group on your own nation's terrorist list. I know you didn't agree with it.
It's insane.
Because you yourself are an Islamic extremist sympathizer, Blinken, and a pathetic human being. Wow. And one of these days, I'm going to figure out just how you screwed me, because you organized the 51 liars who said that the hard drive was a Russian
disinformation.
No. It had I love it.
Sorry.
Oh, I love it. Earmarks of Russian disinformation. So I want to meet Leon Panetta, who I was friendly with, fellow Italian American. I said, and I can't even say what I want to do. I want to talk to him nicely. I want you to give me 3 earmarks. Tell me the 3 earmarks, at least 3. It said earmarks.
Oh, 1.
So it's got to be more than 1. Okay, you want 2? Or give me 2 earmarks of Russian disinformation. But you didn't put them in the letter. Neither did any of the other intelligence people for the last 20 years. When I saw that, I said to myself, now I know why we haven't made a correct intelligence decision in 20 years. These are the weapons of mass destruction people. These are the people who got everybody killed in Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Right? That was after, but the same people. Really smart people. You got bin Laden, but it took you forever. Geez, if I ever took that long getting the mafia, they'd still be there. And Biden didn't want to kill him. Did anybody ever ask Biden why he didn't want to kill bin Laden? Could it be that Biden is really a bigger Islamic terrorist sympathizer than Obama? And he was against, wasn't he against killing the Iranian?
Yep. Well, I'll have to check that.
Yeah, I think he was. Now, that would be outrageous because that guy killed Americans directly.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean, so did bin Laden, come to think of it. I was so in favor of killing bin Laden, I offered to execute him. You think I'm a little over the top?
No.
I actually told George Bush, if he said to me, first thing he said to me when he came on September 14th, 15th, 14th, on Friday, was he talked to the governor first, as he should. The governor's the governor. I'm just a lowly mayor. And he came to me and he said, Rudy, and I was a friend of his and worked very hard for his election, very hard. While I was going through, I got up over a sickbed to go work for him in Florida the last weekend of the election.
Wow.
I was being treated for prostate cancer at the time. So he put his arm around me. There may be a picture of this. Unfortunately, there's not a recording. He grabbed me and he said, what can I do for you, Rudy? I said, if you catch bin Laden, I want to be the one to execute him. I didn't plan it. Honestly, honest to God, I didn't plan that. You know, some people plan, what am I going to say at a historic moment? I didn't have time to.
Yeah.
I just had time to get in a helicopter, go out to the secret place. We're going to meet the president, talk to George about 5 things that we had to do to, at that time, we thought we were still going to get attacked. And he had a nice talk with the governor. Governor probably said very practical things to him that he needed, which I probably should have too, and I eventually did. But he looked at me, and I think he thought I was a little, you know, I shook up from the thing. I meant it. But you know what I think I meant? I don't think I meant like, you know, pulling the thing there. I meant trying him because I love to try people. And I always think I can do it better. Like I want to try Biden in the worst way. I would settle for cross-examining him, but I don't think I think he's not. I mean, now there's another guy there's another guy who got off easy, who's a major sellout. He can't be prosecuted because the jury will think he's a nice old man who can't remember. There's nothing nice about Joe Biden. If her were any little bit of a prosecutor, or even a little bit fair and not a sellout, if you couldn't try that case and get the jury to find out that this man is a lifetime criminal and a lifetime pathetic liar, I mean, from right out of the box, major mentally ill type lies, I mean, right down to now. And you know, during the trial, he'll lie 2-3 times. He can't not do it. You know, I went over the Francis Scott Key Bridge by train millions of times. There's no train. My uncle was eaten by cannibals in New Guinea. No. First of all, the cannibals in New Guinea stopped eating people 150, 200 years ago, and they're all upset about you, Joe. And they actually think you're a racist because they're all black. But they're not the first ones to think you're a racist. I think you're a racist. So does every Republican. The Democrats resist it because you brainwash them. But, I mean, you're about as clear a racist as we got in America. America is systemically racist. You think that because you are. Most other people aren't. We got over it a long time ago. The ones who had it. I never had it. I didn't come from a family that had slaves. I didn't come from a family that used the N-word like you apparently do all the time. Mm-hmm. I wasn't pals with the head of the Ku Klux Klan. In fact, I used to try to put him in jail. I never favored slavery or palled around with people who did. Or I don't think I've ever did a eulogy for a guy who was a big proponent of segregation, slavery, and burning down black people's houses. Isn't that what the Ku Klux Klan does, Joe? Isn't that the guy you eulogized? I mean, they burned down black people's houses. Do you think occasionally they killed the black people when they burned down their houses?
We know they did.
Well, I mean, did they care? Do you care? I mean, you got a lot of people killed in Ukraine for no reason. It's because you're a coward, because you can't deal with Putin, because he's not afraid of you. You got those people killed in Afghanistan. Oh, man, brutal. And then you come back and insult, and you put like a dagger in their heart. You stand there at Andrews Air Force Base, and then you keep looking at your watch, like you have important things to do. Come on, you don't make it. Obama has important things to do. You don't. Just call up Obama and say, don't even bother to pretend. Just make the decisions. I'm not even sure they tell him. Or if they tell him, it works somewhere. In North Carolina, 4 police officers are dead. 4 police officers are wounded. Again, when is it going to stop? This comes right out of Black Lives Matter. It comes right out of 2020. It comes right out of what our show began with. The guy who turned in the property of Jewish people, who paid for the district attorneys that let people go free, who paid for the politicians who were in favor of defunding the police, and who paid for the politicians who demonized the police. So Thomas Weeks Jr., right? Is that Deputy U.S. Marshal? Alden Elliott, the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. Sam Pelosi of the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction. And Joshua Iyer of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department lost their lives protecting you today. These are our heroes. not the people at GW, not the people at Columbia, certainly not the president. He's despicable and an embarrassment. I don't know if these people would have been dead if we hadn't had a 2020 and glorifying Elliot the way we did. Did that require a trial? Yes. Everything else about the man's life is you don't even want to repeat it. You do not become a hero by the way you get killed, unless you get killed heroically. Not if you get killed because you took so much drugs, it killed you. Ultimately, that's why he died. Whatever the cop did, the decision of the coroner, affected by anything, clearly pushed hard in the direction of coming to a different conclusion. He died because he had so many drugs in his system, he wasn't going to live walking home.
It's true.
Now, is that like incredible to believe because he never took drugs? The question is, could we pick out a few days when he didn't? Is this incredible because he was a really, you know how when originally when they first get killed and they create riots, the guy is, I remember the one that Dinkins created in Washington Heights. Originally, the guy was a choir boy. He was an altar boy. He took care of his mother. And the cop just killed him. Just didn't like him. Just killed him. 3 days of riots in Washington Heights, where the president was the other day, which is a nice community now. And then all of a sudden, Jerko here notices in the newspaper a little thing in the Post. The thing in the Post said her son knew that the mother knew that the son couldn't have possibly been involved and caused a murder because he left his gun home that day. I said, gee, I was an altar boy. I never had a gun. I don't remember any of the other altar boys with guns. So I called up the head of the PBA. I was a civilian at the time and a practicing lawyer and a defeated candidate for mayor, but with 49% of the vote. And I said to him, did you read the New York Post today? And he said, yeah, well, we know that. Oh, we know a lot more about him, but we can't put it out. I said, why? He said, the mayor won't let us. It's Mayor Dinkins, the one who took bribes. I said, well, what else do you know? Well, he runs a drug gang. And he's like a big shot in a drug gang from the Dominican Republic that's connected to Colombia. Then he gave me the name of the gang. And I was only out of law enforcement a few years then. I knew exactly who he was, what gang it was, and I knew exactly who to go to. By the next day, his whole history was in the newspapers. Not only that, the police had a tape that was withheld by Dinkins. While people were getting banged around in Washington Heights, firefighters was being sent to the hospital, cops were getting beaten. The tape showed that the guy tried to kill the cop before the cop killed him. The cop wasn't even indicted. The case just went away. It was a 4-day riot, destruction, mayhem, burning, created by fake information. Just like January 6th. Minor version of January 6th. So I'm an expert at this, ladies and gentlemen. I've watched these horrible criminals that make up the upper echelon of the Democratic Party do this to me, my city, my president, to you. And now I see this getting more and more violent. I do hope that this intervention by the New York City Police Department might put some damper on it. Intervention based on the invitation of the president of the university, who is an Islamic extremist sympathizer, doesn't exactly instill a great deal of fear in people.
So
let's see.
They're taking people off. They're dragging people out now.
Yeah, but what are they going to do to them now? Is Bragg going to give them a medal or?
Yeah,
I mean,
we'll keep monitoring.
The place you go after this is American citizens go to jail And anyone who's a foreigner goes to the Immigration and Naturalization Service and it gets a summary deportation. And that probably be about 50-50. We'll get rid of a lot of useless people.
It's gonna. What are these people studying at school?
What are they studying?
Yeah, these ones that are the ones that happen to be in school that are a part of these protests. What exactly are they studying?
They don't study geography because,
or history.
Could we get the map?
Might as well, right?
Should we take a short break while we do it?
Yeah.
Should we get the map? I think just in case there are people who need geography.
We're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Am I back? Yeah. I'm back. See, I'm back. So, for those of you who have been arrested and are at the precinct by now, and you're watching X or Rumble or YouTube or
They're on their phone.
Getter on your phone, if you're watching this here, or tomorrow night if you watch it on Newsmax, I'm going to help you. I don't like seeing you embarrassed. When you're asked, when you say, river to sea, and they say, what river and what sea? First of all, many of you, depending on the place, like the people in California do better than you. People in California, only 49% don't know. People here, it's pushing 60. So Columbia and NYU do not teach geography as well as USC. But USC doesn't do a good job either because it's only 47% that don't know. Here it's, I think it could be in the 60s. These are college students. So here, I want to show you the river they're talking. I mean, just in case, like there's a real river. Did you know that? Oh, did you know what a river was? I know in New York City grammar schools, we don't teach geography anymore. And if we do, we don't give grades. We don't give grades on anything. If we're declining like to the bottom of the class in reading and math, well, imagine what we're doing in geography. So too bad Ted can't go out right now and just see how many of them. We'll pick 100 that got arrested. But they're all being let out.
We'll wait outside the precinct as they come out. We'll interview them.
Yeah, actually, we should go there and time who gets out fastest and who stays the longest. It could be like 2 minutes to 12. One guy is in there for 2 minutes. Another guy, 12, and do any get brag appreciation certificates. Now, it could be that Bragg,
on your fifth.
It could be that Bragg isn't there himself thanking people for protesting against America. He doesn't want to fall asleep in court so he can complain in case Trump does.
Yeah.
I got to tell you, half the federal judges that I tried cases in front of fell asleep in court. And they were good guys because it gets boring. I was very young when I tried cases, but my second case, you're not going to believe it. Now you're going to say I was like Bragg. I tried an operation of an illegal still. It was like an 8-year-old case. It had been left behind by Bob Morgenthau. Whitney North Seymour become U.S. attorney and had to clean up the case. The guy who operated the still and his wife refused to plead guilty. He had a lawyer who was right out of Central Casting. He was black. The lawyer was black, right out of Central Casting. The greatest guy. Basically told me, he won't plead guilty. Let's go to trial. Don't worry, kid. You won't lose the case. He's a defense lawyer. So it was my second or third trial. It was before the Honorable Judge Levitt, who's now dead, so I can tell this. I hope he's dead because he can be real angry at me. So I get to one, it was only a short trial, like 2 days. I get to one point, I'm offering an exhibit. You know, one of the most nerve-wracking things when you first try a case is you're nervous about, do you offer the exhibit right? Exactly with the right procedure? Because some judges get so angry when you don't. And they do it really to play with you. But you have to know, you have to show it to your opponent. No, sorry. Oh, wow, I would have been killed. First thing, Your Honor, I'm presenting, and you identify just the top of it. I'm presenting the Donald Trump leads Joe Biden polls as government exhibit 1. Hand it to the court. If you don't hand it to the court, you're a young rookie lawyer, you know, a judge will not just say, hand it to the clerk. You know, hand it to the clerk. They do this to train the judge I loved and trained me. It's like basic training. So you hand it to the clerk. Clerk marks it. And he says it very loud. Good clerks say it loud. Government exhibit, or exhibit 1 for the government. Mr. Giuliani. Mr. Giuliani, present it to your opponent. So you give it to your opponent. Now, some judges want you to do it before you mark it. Some judges want you to do it after you mark it. And if you don't know the difference, they humiliate you in front of the jury. So now let's say it was a judge, I think Levitt. So I get it marked, right? The judge says nothing. The clerk does the whole thing. I hand it to my opponent, and it goes like that because my opponent's leaving. I look over at the 2 defendants who were both about 80. This case had been around forever. And they weren't drunk. They were just like, it was a warm day. It was like, so the clerk looks at me. I look at the clerk. And I say, the jury is almost beginning to laugh. And I take it from him and I say, Mr. Chance, I think his name was Chance. Mr. Chance, I take it you have no objection. He's a fat guy. You know that, right? They said, Your Honor, now I offer it to the judge. Your Honor, I offer government exhibit 1 in evidence so I can question with it. They offer it up to the judge. And the judge. The judge was 85. The clerk says, accepted. We just went on. The defense lawyer didn't know what happened. The judge didn't know what happened. The defendants hardly knew what happened. And the jury is laughing its head off. Laughing its head off. And I'm looking at them like, what do I do now? I had a witness on the stand, and I said, okay. And I go I start to go very loud. Mr. Smith, is this the receipt that you got for the alcohol that you brought from North Carolina? Please say it louder. Please say it louder so we can wake up the judge and see that.
That's a great story.
It happens. I'm sorry. So now, geography lesson, and then we'll let you go to bed.
Well, maybe that's why they keep the courtrooms cold on purpose, so people don't fall asleep.
Yeah.
In New York.
Yeah. And this case is really boring because, you know, I described this case.
There's no law involved. There's no real law.
Egg hunt.
With no.
This is an Easter egg hunt case.
With no eggs?
No. Somebody has to find the Easter egg. They got to find the crime.
Oh. You show me the man, I'll show you the crime.
There's an evidence. No, that's not the crime. No. Exhibit 5. No. What's the felony? We're not telling you.
We're not telling you. That's it.
Wait. Is it? It can't be illegal federal campaign contribution because the federal government says that they're not illegal. Don't count on that. But I have to look for that too. Don't count on it. So now for the benefit of
history or for
our
friends.
poorly educated, decent people, unfortunately, who were victimized by the communist school system. And even for you miserable, creepy terrorist lovers, let's get the geography right, okay? Because it's ancient geography. There is one person that actually impressed me by saying it's between the Tigris and the Euphrates. I swear to God, it's in the article, Tigris and Euphrates. Now that shows an educated person who can't like put it together. Tigris and Euphrates theoretically, like arguably, is the place where civilization began, right? It's right up, it's actually right up in Iraq. And so up that way, Tigris and Euphrates up there. But this is not the Tigris and Euphrates. And it's not the Hudson River and the East River either, as some people mention. It's the, you're going to be embarrassed when I say this. It's the Jordan River. Jesus, Peter, the Jordan River, black hymns, Catholic hymns, Protestant hymns. The Jordan River? You didn't know it was the Jordan River? What does this say here? What does that say there? What does that say, Ted?
That's the Mediterranean.
You miss the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea. This is, like you couldn't possibly have taken history. The guy who said Tigris and Euphrates must have been awake for one ancient history class and then fell asleep for the rest. Because that would have been the first one for the beginning of civilization. But when you don't know it's the Mediterranean Sea that's next to Israel, I don't think you're entitled to have an opinion. You should be, there should be a rule that says your opinion is disqualified for lack of knowledge. Because as Hamilton, Jefferson, Jay, you pick your genius founding father.
They don't know who those guys are.
Even the non-slave ones, and as they said, there's one way we can get destroyed and become a dictatorship: the ignorance of our electorate. The ignorance of our electorate. We're going to send them. We're going to send them from the sea to the from the river to the sea. What river? The Hudson River and the Black Sea, I guess. Or maybe Lake Erie. It's Lake Erie, right? It's here to here. Now, this, I don't know if you can see it all the way down here. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, here. This right here is what they're all upset about right here. This is Rafah, right here. Ta-da, ta-da. And if I drew this here, there's a little thing that Egypt built here.
So why isn't Egypt taking them?
Because they're murderers.
You know?
Because they're terrorists, and they can't distinguish between Hamas and Palestinians as to who the terrorists are.
These protesters.
And they want to, and the Hamas and many of the Palestinian have Muslim Brotherhood roots. And the Muslim Brotherhood is the group that Sisi overthrew to take his government. So immediately they would ally with the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, remember, Egypt only has this because of the good graces of Israel. When they surprise attacked Israel, Israel drove them back to Egypt and took the desert.
Yeah.
The Jews always being very smart. So what the hell do you want a desert for? You can have it. So they gave him the desert, which creates a nice bulwark between them, probably instrumental in organizing the earliest peace between the Arabs and the Jews, which was between Egypt and Israel, right?
Right.
With Sadat. Now, please don't expect any of the people who are committing the crimes, causing the problems, threatening the Jewish people, burning flags, understand anything I'm saying.
Yeah, they don't know who Sadat is. Are you kidding me? You know who Anwar Sadat is?
These are phony terrorists. So right here, I'll tell you what Egypt has done. They've built, I don't know exactly how big it is. I'm not even sure it's a mile. Oh, it's less than a mile, but it's like a holding thing here. So they will let some of the Palestinians in there. It can hold no more than 400,000, however, and there's over 1.4 million. Over here, Ted, they have the relief vehicles that will come in, and Egypt will help move the people here, back up here, so the civilians don't get killed when Bibi comes in and destroys Rafah. Now, nobody ever did that before. You think we did that when we bombed Germany, when we finally got even for the Battle of Britain? You think we moved in and moved the Germans into safe places? No, we killed them. And Churchill would have gone nuts if we did it. He said, what are you, crazy? They did it to me. How many of I've lost my best friends. I'm going to go tell them I'm bombing them. They didn't tell me when they were bombing me. Why would I tell them? They didn't tell Israel when they were going to come over and kill all these people here, did they? Did they say, put your civilians away? No. They went after the civilians. The Israelis have the best record for the least number of civilians killed in a war that we know of, way better than America. And Biden, who actually, even if he wanted to, wouldn't know how to carry out a war without killing civilians. Couldn't do anything. He doesn't know anything efficient. Is badgering them into not finishing off Hamas. Now, why would Blinken and Biden badger them into not finish off a group that we list as a terrorist group that even to this day, when you would think they tried to persuade us to kind of go easy on them, is saying we want to kill all Americans and all Jews? Because they're traitors. In an earlier day, we would have hung them. Biden and Blinken right next to each other for doing that. I'd have done it for giving up the Bagram Air Base and making an American president have to defend the United States against China without an air base 400 miles from China, when I knew damn well that some of that was what we would call a deliverable for some of the 21 to 31 million in bribes and the $1.5 billion investment in the Biden finance company, which included Whitey Bulger's nephew as a partner. I'm going to say it again. Whitey Bulger's nephew was a partner of Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, the Red Chinese government, and indirectly, based on the text of Hunter that I gave half of everything to my father, Joe Biden. He was the nephew of the biggest organized criminal, one of, in the U.S. And let's get really, really conspiratorial here. And the one the FBI allowed, his uncle, allowed to be free and kill people so they get information from him. In a case in which the FBI agent has gone to jail. You know who supervised that case, Ted? I mean, life is strange.
Yeah, I have an idea.
Who? Yeah, any idea?
No idea.
Mueller.
Really?
Mueller supervised the worst, most disgraceful FBI investigation since Trump, in which the organized criminal Whitey Bulger was protected by the FBI because he gave them information on the mafia, but they allowed him to kill.
That's pretty big.
As long as he gave information. And what he did is he preserved his own Irish mob and killed the Italians.
Crazy.
And there's a movie about it. You want to watch the movie? I'll get the name of it for you. But the prosecutor who was declared to have been negligent in handling it was Mueller. Now, it could be he was suffering from dementia back then.
Yeah.
But when I got the case, I went to see him the first time, and I never saw him again for 1.5 years. they hid him in a closet like Biden. I mean, of course, I have a sense of humor. So every time we have to have a decision, our people would say, well, some of them work for him. See, I never worked for him. He works for me. I didn't want him to work for me. Bill Weld wanted him to. I always thought he was a lightweight. Didn't know he was also. I met with him once the first day. I represented Trump for 1.5 years in that case. I never met with him again. Next time I saw him, he was testifying and proving that he had a severe case of dementia by not knowing the names of any of the key witnesses.
Yeah.
Not only that, he never made a decision, to my knowledge, in the case from the first day I was there until the day that we finished.
Wow.
He was hidden from us. And I would call him the Wizard of Oz. And a few times they would say to me, we got to take the decision to Bob. And in my inevitable style, I would say, don't bullshit me. He doesn't make any decisions. He doesn't make any decisions. Bob was at the best, a second-rate prosecutor and an extraordinarily negligent prosecutor who allowed one of the worst, until now, scandals in the FBI to go on right under his nose. At worst, I don't know. You figure out at worst, okay? So, one last thing. How much is that dog?
I'm sure we want to get to that.
The
is that dog in the window? The one with the waggly tail. How much is that dog in the window? I do hope that dog is for sale.
How much is that doggy in the window? I don't like the way it looks. I'm going to take my gun and shoot it. And then I'm going to shoot the big fat goose. Well, you think somebody who did that should be vice president of the United States? And there are people who have communicated with me on this, because I have done some questioning about this, who say she would be an appropriate replacement of Kamala Harris. Now, do you have any idea who we're talking about? Would you tell the story, Ted? Because I like dogs too much to tell. I'm a dog. I've always been a dog lover. My best friend when I was mayor, my only friend when I was mayor at times, was Goalie, big white lab, great dog. I watch reels all the time. I'll tell you the ones I watch. I watch Rocky Kanaka, who goes into a shelter in California and takes care of dogs that are depressed because they've been given up by their owners, or dogs that have been starved. He deals with the worst dogs in the kennel to shape them up so they can be adopted, because otherwise they'll sit in the back and they'll look depressed. That's Rocky Kanaka. Just put Rocky Kanaka in on YouTube. And he gets like 130, 140. He's had a couple of millions. Or if you want to go European, you can go to Victor Larkill, who is also on YouTube. And he does a rescue, and I'd call it a high-class rescue in Spain. Now, I call it high class, not because the people are rich. I call it high class because they deal with extraordinarily difficult cases where the average veterinarian is just immediately going to say euthanasia. Like a dog who's lost 2 legs. So that's expensive. Can you do a prosthesis? Can you do a wheelchair? Or you're going to take care of the dog like that? You're going to have to make sure you do all the sanitary work for them. They can't extricate. They can't urinate on their own. There's a whole bunch of things. On the other hand, some of these dogs, because they're so dependent, are some of the most beautiful, wonderful, loving dogs you ever saw. I mean, they'll kiss you. They'll kiss you until you tell them to stop. Or if they're big enough and somebody wants to hurt your baby, they'll put their body right in the way of the bullet. So there's 2 sides to this. So, and there are other good ones. They also have a whole series of Chinese ones that I think are phony. They're good little stories, but they're all the same, and they have all the same expressions. And I think Chinese are so bad. I think the Chinese communists are so bad. I think they make the dogs dirty and then clean them up. And they always do the same thing. But in any event, Rocky Tanaka and Victor Larkel, Rocky, R-O-C-K-Y, like Rocky Marciano, or Rocky, K-A-N-A-K-A.
Yeah.
Fabulous. An interesting guy, interesting wife. I don't know him at all. Never talked to him. This is not even an advertisement. It's not an advertisement at all. I'm just telling this from my heart. He does such wonderful work with these dogs. Some of you are going to watch this and want to do it. Second is Victor Larko. It's a different experience. They have a lot of stuff online with dogs that are injured and rescued, and you can't tell which ones are legitimate, which ones are completely dramatized, which ones are made up, which ones are for money. Larko, there are a lot of them that are incomplete, and you can't even tell what happened to the dog. Larko takes it from beginning to end. I don't know if he does one a week or one every 2 weeks, and then they stretch over a long period of time, like 2-3 years, because some of these dogs are in treatment for that period of time. You know, they're trying to teach them how to walk, or they have cancer and they're recovering from cancer, or they've had serious brain damage and they're trying to bring them back. They were in a coma. A lot of them are dogs, particularly in Spain. And he would tell you this. I'm not telling you this. Spain has a particularly problem with cruelty to dogs. I mean, these dogs come in like beaten.
They come in,
beaten to death
for
no reason. You know, it's like they're used for some purpose, like taking care of cows or taking care of sheep or just being a guard for a store. Happens in China too. They put them outside as a guard dog. They chain them and they give them food every day, but they never let them off the chain for 2 years. Can you imagine what happens to a dog that isn't let off the chain for 2 years? And then when they don't like them, they eat them or kill them. And you don't think they eat dogs in China? Watch the reels. Watch the guys negotiating to save the dogs that they want to sell to the restaurants. They even discuss prices.
Well, there's Cricket. That's the dog.
Cricket is with Victor, right?
Cricket is the puppy that unfortunately was not trainable. That's the picture of the dog.
Cricket
shot this puppy
that dog?
And admitted to it directly in the
She shot that dog?
Yes, sir. Yeah. Crazy.
This is like,
and then wrote about it in a book.
This is not as bad, but it's getting close to Marr saying that he agrees with killing fetuses. He believes it's murder like the Catholics do, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care.
It's a bizarre story.
I don't care what that dog did. First of all, that dog doesn't look like he'd do it. Let's look at that dog again.
Psychopath. This is I hate to say it, but it sounds like a psychopath. Who shoots a puppy? 14-month-old puppy. She shot it dead.
But she said the dog ate some chickens.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know my little dark history with some of my dogs, right? Like they go after squirrels.
Yeah.
What are they supposed to do? They're dogs. They're not. They're smarter than the protesters. I bet this guy knows the rivers. I bet if I brought him here, he'd go.
Anyway,
I wish I could see his size because it really looks like a dog that can't do too much damage. I mean, any dog can bite you, but my God, if you can't maneuver yourself around a tiny dog that wants to bite you, how about you put gloves on? Do you want to try gloves?
A bizarre story.
I've seen many rescue movies now with really vicious dogs, and they have gloves that the dog is not going to penetrate. I saw one the other night, and it was a Chinese. No, Indian. And the guy did a great job of rescuing this dog, and this dog was like in a total panic because it had been beaten. And his only experience with human beings were they would come and kick him in the head. So this guy wants to come and save him, but he doesn't know that it's a human being. He's going to kick me in the head. What am I going to do? I'm going to bite him. The guy was terrific. He was terrific. He got bitten on the gloves. Ultimately, he got the dog to accept being pet. He couldn't get him with treats. The dog wouldn't take food, wouldn't take treats. He didn't try. The dog probably thought he was going to poison him. He got him. He figured out. He found a place where the dog liked to be petted.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the minute he starts petting him there, the biting stops. The dog is still moving back, petting. Then he gives the treats. Then the dog eats the treats. Then he gives the dog food. Half hour later, the dog stops eating. Right? And now he's got the dog. And the dog, this is 2 years later, and the dog has turned out to be a wonderful home pet that doesn't bite anybody. So
There we go.
I don't know. If you can't love these creatures, I mean, I do know she lives someplace else, and I do like her.
I'm from a place like that, man. This is a straight.
And it really is despicable of us because we just like to have fun, and we knew we could make fun of her. But how much is that doggy in the window? The one I can shoot with my gun.
It's great.
And by the way, I borrowed
the story in the book is what's.
I borrowed that from Rocky. Credit to Rocky Tanaka, because he had a segment about 3 weeks ago about a depressed dog that was sitting on the windowsill of the kennel. This particular kennel place had a windowsill, and rather than sitting down below, he was sitting on the windowsill. So you would assume he did that to be, noticed and adopted, but he was there with. And Rocky realized he was there up on the windowsill because he didn't want to be in the kennel, and it was dirty. And he got himself in the highest position he could get in. And it took a while for Rocky to get him down because the way they operate with the dogs, they don't just grab them down. They make them want to do it. It took him about an hour to get him down, and he did. So we'll do more on dogs if you like it. You got to let me know because I'm learning a lot about them. And I'm really thinking of tying up with one of these people because I really think if we can get people into saving dogs, we can start getting into saving children too. And maybe get people like Marr to realize how stupid it is what he said. I like murder. Come on, Marr, you don't like murder. I really even believe it. Biden still has his TikTok account. He's been told by Congress to close it. He refuses to. Are you surprised? Who owns TikTok? Ted?
China.
Who gave Biden $31 million?
China.
Do you think he's going to close his TikTok account? No.
Of course not.
This is nothing compared to giving up a Grom. We have said our prayer, I hope, for our police officers who died, and we gave you their names, and tomorrow we'll give you the names of the ones who were injured and an update on them. 8's a lot.
Yeah.
Also, for tomorrow, I think we'll do a bit of an analysis of just the damage that's been done. People who have funded this, because we did pick on Soros, which is legitimate. He's the biggest one, but there are a lot of others that are putting up money here, and they're all Democrats. This is a Democrat program, and to try to play this program and try to keep the Jewish vote at the same time is despicable, which is what they're trying to do. They're trying to play, 3-card Monty. Well, I never liked 3-card Monty. I banned it and threw them all out of New York. We're going to throw them all out too. Great job on Judge Pussy. He backed off. The president can go to his son's graduation. Only 9,000. Now we got to get him to jail him. And then president wins by acclamation.
Yeah.
I don't think the president is going to like my wanting him to get jailed. I'll go with him. I can talk. I know how to talk to prisoners better than he does. God bless the people of Israel. Please save them. They've gone through so much through history. And once again, there's a significant group of people that wants to eliminate them. And a significant group of people that are supporting them, including in my country and in my city, the largest Jewish city outside of Israel. And pray for us, the United States. God bless America. Bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze,